The day started like any other in Seoul. The sun rose over the tall buildings and people hurried to work. But this day would change everything. This was the day the aliens came. News of the alien ships had spread quickly. They appeared first, as small dots in the sky growing larger as they descended. By noon, the whole world knew we were not alone in the universe. Jin-ho woke up excited. His mother had been called to an important meeting at Seoul Central Plaza. She was Dr. Yoon-ae Park, the top scientist who studied life from other planets. Even though she had never met an actual alien before, she had spent years preparing for this moment. "Jin-ho, you must stay with Uncle Tae today," Dr. Park said as she put on her formal jacket. "This meeting is very important and very serious." Jin-ho nodded but felt disappointed. He was 8 years old and thought he was old enough to see the aliens too. His friends at school would ask him about it tomorrow and he wanted to tell them everything. "Will you take pictures?" he asked his mother. "If they allow it," she answered, checking her phone as messages kept coming in. "The government has strict rules about today's meeting." Uncle Tae arrived at their apartment bringing snacks and games. "Ready for a fun day?" he asked Jin-ho with a smile. "I guess," Jin-ho answered without much excitement. After his mother left, Jin-ho pretended to play with the toys Uncle Tae brought, but his mind was filled with images of the aliens. What did they look like? Were they friendly? Did they have cool spaceships like in the movies? When Uncle Tae went to the bathroom, Jin-ho made a quick decision. He grabbed his jacket and quietly slipped out the door. He knew the way to Seoul Central Plaza. It was only a short bus ride away and he had his bus card in his pocket. The city streets were strangely empty. Most people were inside, watching the news on their screens. The bus was nearly empty too, and the driver looked surprised to see a young boy traveling alone. "Where are your parents?" the driver asked. "My mom is waiting for me at the plaza," Jin-ho lied, feeling a little bad about it. "She's meeting the aliens." The driver nodded, impressed. "Your mother must be very important." Jin-ho felt proud. "She is. She's the best scientist in Korea." When Jin-ho arrived at Seoul Central Plaza, he found large crowds behind barriers. Police officers stood guard, keeping people away from the center of the plaza. Giant screens had been set up so the crowd could see what was happening. Jin-ho was small enough to slip between adults and move toward the front. Everyone was looking up at the screens or at the center of the plaza, where a group of important-looking people in suits stood in a line. Jin-ho spotted his mother among them, standing straight and tall. Then he saw them. The aliens. They were nothing like he had imagined. They stood much taller than any human, at least 3 meters high. Their bodies were covered in what looked like shiny armor, but Jin-ho realized it was actually part of their bodies, an exoskeleton that gleamed under the sun. They had 4 arms and walked on 2 thick legs. Their heads were shaped differently, from human heads with no visible ears and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern. Jin-ho stared in wonder. They were scary but amazing. He watched as one alien stepped forward. This one had extra markings on its exoskeleton, probably showing it was the leader. "People of Earth," the alien said, its voice coming through a small device it held. The voice sounded mechanical and flat. "I am Captain Dahl of the Raxian Empire. We have come from the stars to welcome your world into the galactic community." The crowd murmured with excitement. Jin-ho noticed his mother step forward with the Korean president and other officials. They bowed slightly to the aliens. "On behalf of the Republic of Korea, we welcome you," the president said. Jin-ho couldn't contain his excitement anymore. The barriers were just a few steps away. The police were distracted, watching the ceremony. Jin-ho saw his chance and ducked under the barrier. He ran toward the open area, wanting to get closer to see the aliens better. He didn't run toward them, just to the edge of the official area where he could see better. His mother was only 20 meters away, talking to one of the aliens. Jin-ho felt so proud. His mother was talking to real aliens. The alien leader, Captain Dahl, was discussing something with human officials when another alien turned its head. This one had red markings on its armor. Jin-ho later learned this was Commander Vass, the security chief of the alien delegation. Commander Vass noticed the small human child who had entered the restricted area. In the culture of the Raxians, Order and rank were everything. They had conquered 12 other planets before coming to Earth. On each world, they established strict rules about how lesser beings should behave around Raxian officers. To Commander Vass, the human child had broken the most basic rule: never approach a Raxian superior without permission. On Raxian ships and conquered planets, such an offense had only one punishment. Jin-Ho froze when the large alien turned toward him. He wanted to wave or say hello, but something in the alien's posture made him afraid. The alien moved with purpose, walking directly toward him. People in the crowd began to notice. A few pointed. Someone shouted. Jin-Ho heard his mother's voice, calling his name, but it sounded far away. Commander Vass stood over the small human child. In the Raxian Empire, examples were made to maintain order. Without hesitation or warning, the commander lifted his armored foot. Jin-Ho looked up. Suddenly, understanding the danger, he tried to move, but fear kept him frozen in place. The alien brought its foot down with deliberate force. The sound that followed silenced the entire plaza. It took only 2 seconds, one for the initial impact, another for the finality of it. "Doctor." Park's scream cut through the silence. She ran forward but was too late. Security personnel held her back as she called her son's name over and over. Captain Dahl watched without emotion. "Unfortunate," he said through his translator device. "The young one should have known better than to approach a Raxian officer." The Korean president stepped back in horror. The other officials scattered in panic. The crowd behind the barriers began to scream and push. In the chaos that followed, no one noticed the small device that fell from Jin-Ho's pocket. It was the recorder his mother had given him for his birthday. He had turned it on to record the alien so he could show his friends at school. The recorder captured everything: the alien's deliberate action, the horrifying sound, and the beginning of humanity's rage. The Raxians had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were showing strength by punishing a simple rule violation. They didn't understand that they had just declared war on the entire human race. In the Raxian Empire, strength came from fear. On Earth, in that moment, strength would come from something else entirely: the unforgiving fury of a species that had just watched a child die for no reason. And it had all taken only 2 seconds. The world went quiet for 3 seconds after Jin-Ho died. Then everything exploded into noise and movement. Dr. Yuna Park fell to her knees, her scream turning into a sound no parent should ever make. Security guards pulled her back as medical. Workers rushed forward, but everyone knew it was too late. The boy was gone. The Korean president shouted for order as his security team formed a circle around him. News cameras captured everything. Billions of people watching around the world saw what the Raxian commander had done. Captain Dahl, the leader of the aliens, did not seem upset. He spoke calmly through his translator device. "This is unfortunate. The young one broke protocol. Commander Vass acted according to Raxian law." The Korean foreign minister stepped forward, his face pale with shock and anger. This was a child. He was 8 years old. "Age is not a factor in protocol violations," Commander Vass said. His voice through the translator sounded flat, without any feeling. "The rules must be followed." Within minutes, armed soldiers surrounded the alien delegation. Helicopters appeared overhead. The crowd behind the barriers pushed and shouted. Some threw things. The soldiers kept their guns pointed at the aliens but did not fire. "You will leave this planet immediately," the Korean president said, his voice shaking with rage. "Captain." Dahl tilted his head in what might have been confusion. "This reaction is extreme. We offer technological gifts as compensation for the loss of the young one." No one answered him. The aliens were escorted back to their ship under heavy guard. Similar scenes played out in other cities around the world where Raxian delegations had landed. Within hours, all alien ships left Earth. But they did not leave the solar system. Instead, they moved their ships into orbit around Earth. The first contact had failed, but the Raxians were not giving up so easily. Back in her apartment, Dr. Park sat in silence. Jin-Ho's room remained exactly as he had left it that morning. His backpack hung on the chair, his dinosaur models lined the shelf. His bed was unmade. Uncle Tay sat beside her, his face wet with tears. "I only went to the bathroom for 3 minutes," he said over and over. "I should have watched him better." Dr. Park could not answer. She could not speak at all. The police had brought her home, but she barely remembered the ride. Everything felt unreal, like a bad dream she could not wake up from. The doorbell rang. Tay went to answer it. 3 men in government suits entered the apartment. One carried a small box. "Dr. Park," one man said gently, "I am Minister Lee from the Foreign Office. I am very sorry for your loss." Dr. Park did not look up. "We found this at the scene," Minister Lee said, placing the small box on the table. "It belonged to your son." Dr. Park slowly opened the box. Inside was Jinho's pocket recorder, the one she had given him for his birthday last month. Her hand shook as she picked it up. "He recorded everything," Minister Lee said quietly. "We thought you should have it back." Dr. Park pressed the play button. Jinho's excited voice filled the room. "I can see the aliens now, they are so tall and shiny." She turned it off quickly, unable to bear more. But something had changed in her face. A tiny spark appeared in her eyes. "The government needs your help, Dr. Park," Minister Lee said. "You are our top expert on potential alien biology. We need to understand these Raxians better." "They killed my son," she said, her voice rough from crying. "Yes," Minister Lee agreed, "and they show no remorse. Their ships are still in orbit. We think they plan to return." For the first time since the incident, Dr. Park stood up straight. "What do you need from me?" "Everything you can learn about them. Their biology, technology, weaknesses. Anything that might help us if they become hostile." Dr. Park looked at the recorder in her hand. "I will need access to all the video footage of the aliens, and any data our satellites collected from their ships." "You will have it," Minister Lee promised. "There will be a car waiting for you tomorrow morning." After the officials left, Tay looked worried. "Should you be working so soon? You need time to grieve." "I will grieve," Dr. Park said, her voice steady now. "But I will also work. Jinho would want me to protect other children from those monsters." That night, Dr. Park received a call from her husband's son. He was a military pilot stationed at an air base in the northern part of the country. The military had placed all bases on high alert after the alien ships arrived. "I saw the news," son said, his voice breaking. "Tell me it is not true." Dr. Park could not speak for a long moment. Then she said, "Come home if you can." "I have requested emergency leave," son said. "But all pilots are being kept on standby. They think the aliens might attack." "Do what you need to do," Dr. Park said. "I am going to work with the government. I will use what I know to help." "Those things killed our son," son said, anger replacing his grief. "If they come back, I want to be in the air. I want to be the one who shoots them down." Dr. Park understood his anger. She felt it too, burning beneath her sorrow. "We will make them regret ever coming to Earth," she promised. The next morning, government cars arrived in cities around the world, picking up scientists, military leaders, and government officials. A global emergency meeting was being organized. The aliens had made contact with 7 major countries simultaneously. Each nation had similar stories to share. In Washington, the alien commander had pushed aside a security guard, breaking the man's arm. In Beijing, the aliens had refused to speak with female officials, demanding to see the dominant males. In Moscow, the aliens had scanned government buildings with unknown devices, ignoring requests to stop. But only in Seoul had they killed someone. Only in Seoul had they shown what they really thought of humans. At the emergency meeting, held in a secure underground facility, Dr. Park presented her initial findings. "The Raxians have a hierarchical society based on strength and dominance," she explained, showing images from the first contact videos. "Note the markings on their exoskeletons. Different colors indicate different ranks." "Can we communicate with them?" asked a diplomat from France. "Yes, but they may not listen," Dr. Park said. "They seem to view us as inferior beings." Then why make contact at all? Asked another scientist. A military general spoke up. Resources. Earth has water, minerals, and land. If their history involves conquering other planets as they suggested, then we might be next. The room went quiet as everyone considered this possibility. Dr. Park brought up new images on the screen. I have been studying the video footage closely. Their exoskeletons provide protection, but they might have weaknesses at the joint areas, and their translator devices seem essential for communication. Are you suggesting we attack them? Asked the French diplomat, looking alarmed. I am suggesting we prepare, Dr. Park answered. They killed my son without hesitation or remorse. I do not believe they came in peace. As the meeting continued, technicians rushed in with urgent news. The Raxian ships were moving. Several smaller vessels had detached from the main fleet and were descending toward Earth again. They are coming back, the general said, checking reports on his tablet. 7 ships heading for the same 7 cities as before. Dr. Park looked at the images of the approaching alien ships. She thought of Jinho's voice on the recorder. She thought of his empty room and his unmade bed. This time, she said quietly, we will be ready for them. The 7 Raxian ships entered Earth's atmosphere on a clear morning, exactly 3 days after Jinho's death. This time there were no welcoming committees waiting. Instead, military forces surrounded the landing sites. Tanks and missile launchers pointed at the sky. Captain Dahl's ship landed in the same plaza in Seoul where the first meeting had happened. The aliens seemed surprised by the military reception. We come again in peace, Captain Dahl announced through his translator as he walked down the ramp of his ship. We bring gifts to show our goodwill. The Korean general in charge stepped forward. We do not want your gifts. You killed one of our children. Captain Dahl made a sound that his translator did not convert. It might have been a sigh or a laugh. The incident was unfortunate but necessary to establish proper protocol. We are willing to offer advanced technology as compensation. You think technology can replace a child? The general asked, his voice hard. That is not how humans work. Behind him, soldiers moved into position. They carried new weapons, designed overnight by scientists around the world based on Dr. Park's findings. The weapons looked simple, but they were specially made to target the weak points in Raxian exoskeletons. Similar scenes played out in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, London, New Delhi, and Cairo. In each city, the Raxians offered technology in exchange for forgiveness. In each city they were met with armed resistance. This response is illogical, Captain Dahl said. One human child is not worth rejecting the benefits of joining the Raxian Empire. Leave our planet, the general ordered. You are not welcome here. Captain Dahl turned to Commander Vass, who had stepped out of the ship behind him. They spoke in their clicking language, not using the translator. Then Captain Dahl faced the humans again. Perhaps you need a demonstration of Raxian power, he said. Your planet is primitive. We have conquered 12 worlds before yours. We had hoped to make Earth a willing partner, but we can take what we want by force. The general did not back down. You can try. As tensions rose at the landing sites, Dr. Park worked frantically in her laboratory. The government had given her access to everything she needed. Engineers and scientists from around the world sent her data and ideas through secure channels. The joint areas in their exoskeletons are definitely weaker, she told her team, pointing to enhanced images on her screens. And here, at the base of their necks, there appears to be a neural connection point. A young engineer leaned closer to the image. It looks like their armor is actually part of their bodies. If we can disrupt the neural connections, we might be able to immobilize them without killing them. Dr. Park shook her head. I am not concerned about keeping them alive. No one argued with her. Everyone knew what had happened to her son. In the skies above the military base, Sun Park completed his 10th training flight in the new fighter jet. The military had equipped their planes with weapons based on Dr. Park's research. Sun had volunteered to test them. How does it handle? His commander asked when he landed. Good, Sun replied. The targeting system works well. If the aliens try to attack from the air, we will be ready. His commander nodded. Get some rest, we may need you soon. But Sun did not go to rest. Instead, he went to see his wife. Special permission had been granted for him to visit the research facility where she worked. When Sun entered the lab, Yuna looked up from her computer. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Sun crossed the room and wrapped his arms around her. They held each other tightly, sharing their grief and their strength. "I miss him so much," Yuna whispered. "Me too," Sun said. "But we must keep going. For Jinho and for all the other children." Yuna stepped back and wiped her eyes. "I have made progress. The Raxians have weaknesses we can exploit." She showed him her findings. Sun listened carefully, asking questions about the aliens' technology and biology. As a pilot, he needed to understand his enemy. "Their ships use a similar neural interface," Yuna explained. "The pilots connect directly to their vessels through the same type of connection points they have in their exoskeletons. So, if we can disrupt those connections," Sun said slowly, "we could disable their ships." "Exactly," Yuna said. "I have designed a pulse weapon that should work. The engineers are building it now." At the landing site in Seoul, tensions continued to rise. Captain Dahl had returned to his ship, but Commander Vass remained outside, watching the human soldiers with his 3 eyes. "Your weapons are primitive," he said to the general. "They cannot harm a Raxian warrior." The general did not respond. He had been ordered to avoid conflict if possible, but to stand firm against any threats. Suddenly, a small drone flew over the plaza. It was not a military drone, but a civilian model used by news agencies. It hovered near Commander Vass, recording video. The commander reacted instantly. He raised one of his forearms and fired a beam of energy from a weapon built into his exoskeleton. The drone exploded in mid-air. "No unauthorized surveillance," Commander Vass announced. The soldiers raised their weapons, but the general ordered them to hold their fire. "That drone belonged to a news agency," he told Commander Vass. "It was not a weapon." "Irrelevant," the commander replied. "Raxian officers are not to be observed without permission." The general's radio crackled with an urgent message. Similar incidents were happening at all 7 landing sites. The Raxians were destroying cameras, drones, and sensors. They were also scanning human military equipment, seemingly assessing Earth's defense capabilities. In orbit, the main Raxian fleet had moved closer to Earth. Their weapon systems were active, ready to fire. The world leaders held an emergency video conference. The situation was quickly becoming a global crisis. "They are preparing for war," the American president said. "Our satellites show increased activity in their fleet." "We should strike first," urged the Russian leader. "Dr. Parks, weapons might work, but we need the element of surprise." The Korean president looked tired but determined. "We cannot attack without provocation. The world is watching. We must be better than they are." As they debated, news came from Cairo. The Raxians there had seized control of a military vehicle, killing 3 soldiers in the process. They claimed it was necessary to study primitive human technology. That was the last straw. The order was given. If the Raxians made one more aggressive move, Earth would respond with force. In her lab, Dr. Park received the news with grim satisfaction. Her weapons were ready. The pulse generators had been distributed to military units around the world. Now they just needed the right moment to use them. "The Raxians think we are weak and primitive," she told her team. "They think they can do whatever they want here, even kill our children. It is time to show them how wrong they are." Sun called from the airbase. "We are on high alert," he told her. "All pilots are standing by." "Be careful," Yuna said. "I cannot lose you too." "I will come back," Sun promised, "and we will build a world where no alien ever threatens our people again." As night fell over Seoul, the standoff continued. The Raxian ship glowed softly in the darkness, its strange technology humming with power. Human soldiers watched it carefully, their new weapons ready. Inside the ship, Captain Dahl made his decision. Earth would not submit willingly. That meant only one option remained. He sent a message to the main fleet: prepare for conquest. The attack began at dawn. Raxian ships dropped from the sky toward major cities across Earth. Their weapons glowed with strange energy, ready to destroy anything in their path. In orbit, the main Raxian fleet moved into position, their massive guns aimed at the planet below. Captain Dahl sent a message to all Earth governments. Surrender now or face destruction. You have 1 hour to decide. The world leaders did not need an hour. Their response came quickly. We will not surrender. In the skies above Seoul, Sun Park climbed into his fighter jet. His squad was one of many around the world preparing to defend Earth. The new weapons designed by Dr. Park and her team had been fitted to their planes overnight. Remember your training, his commander said over the radio. Aim for their neural connection points. One good hit should disable them. Sun checked his systems. Everything was ready. He thought of his son, Jinho, whose small body now lay in a hospital morgue. He thought of his wife, Yuna, working tirelessly to find ways to defeat the aliens who had killed their child. For Jinho, he whispered as his jet roared down the Yar runway. Across the world, similar scenes played out. Pilots took to the skies. Ground forces moved into position. Civilians were evacuated to underground shelters. Earth was ready for war. The first battle happened over the Pacific Ocean. A group of Raxian ships approached Hawaii, intending to establish a base there. They did not expect resistance. The Raxians had conquered 12 planets before Earth, and none had been able to fight back effectively. But Earth was different. As the alien ships descended, a squadron of fighter jets met them head-on. The jets fired their new weapons, targeting the weak points Dr. Park had identified. The lead Raxian ship exploded in midair. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their advanced shields should have protected them from Earth's primitive weapons. But these were not ordinary weapons. How is this possible? A Raxian commander asked as his ship's systems began to fail. Their technology is too primitive to harm us. His question went unanswered as his ship plummeted into the ocean. The battle for Hawaii ended quickly. Earth had won its first victory against the Raxian invaders. In her laboratory, Dr. Park received the news with grim satisfaction. The pulse weapons work, she told her team. Now we need to build more and quickly. Engineers around the world worked day and night, building more of Dr. Park's pulse weapons. The design was simple enough that even small countries could produce them using existing technology. The Raxians regrouped. Captain Dahl, now aboard the main fleet in orbit, was angry and confused. How did they defeat our ships? He demanded. Their weapons should be useless against our shields. His science officer studied the data from the failed attack. It appears they have found a way to target our neural interfaces. The weapons disrupt the connection between pilot and ship. Captain, Dahl slammed one of his forearms against the wall. Impossible. They are too primitive to understand our technology. Evidence suggests otherwise, the science officer replied. They are more resourceful than we anticipated. The next attack came 3 days later. This time the Raxians targeted military bases rather than cities. They hoped to destroy Earth's new weapons before they could be used again. But Earth was ready. As the alien ships approached, ground-based pulse generators activated. Large dishes aimed at the sky, sending invisible waves of energy upward. The waves disrupted the neural connections in the Raxian ships, causing them to lose control. Some ships crashed. Others managed to retreat back to space. None completed their mission. In Seoul, Dr. Park watched the battle from her laboratory window. She could see the pulse generators on the roof of the military base turning to track the alien ships. She could see the ships faltering, their smooth flight becoming erratic as the pulses hit them. We are winning, a young scientist said, standing beside her. Not yet, Dr. Park replied. They will adapt. We need to be ready when they do. She was right. The Raxians were already working on countermeasures. Their engineers modified their neural interfaces, adding shielding to protect against the pulse weapons. These modifications will help, the Raxian science officer told Captain Dahl. But they are not perfect. The human weapons will still affect us, just not as severely. Captain Dahl considered this information. We need a new strategy. Direct attacks are not working. He studied the planet below. Earth was unified now. all nations working together against the Raxian threat. That was unusual. On other conquered planets, the Raxians had exploited divisions between different groups. Earth's unity made conquest more difficult. "What is driving their resistance?" Captain Dahl asked his intelligence officer. "The incident with the human child," the officer replied. "It appears to have unified them. They are fighting not just for survival but for revenge." Captain Dahl tapped his claws against his control panel. "Then we must break their unity. We must show them the cost of defiance." The Raxians began a new tactic. Instead of attacking military targets, they bombed food production centers. They destroyed water treatment plants. They targeted infrastructure that civilians depended on. "Surrender, or watch your people suffer," Captain Dahl announced to Earth's leaders. The response came from the Korean president. "We will rebuild what you destroy. We will not surrender." All around the world, countries shared resources to help those affected by the Raxian attacks. Nations that once were enemies now worked together. The Raxian threat had brought humanity together in a way nothing else ever had. Sun Park flew mission after mission, defending civilian targets from Raxian attacks. His squadron had become experts at taking down alien ships. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly and then retreating before the Raxians could respond. After a successful mission, Sun landed at the base and was surprised to find his wife waiting for him. Yune ran to him as he climbed out of his jet. "I have news," she said, her face showing excitement for the first time since Jinho's death. "We have captured a Raxian." This was a major breakthrough. Until now, no one had been able to examine a live Raxian up close. The aliens always destroyed themselves rather than be captured. "How?" Sun asked as they walked quickly toward the research building. "One of their small scout ships crashed near Busan," Yuna explained. "The pilot survived. Our soldiers used the pulse weapons at low power to disable his exoskeleton without killing him." In a secure room deep inside the research facility, the captured Raxian sat in a special containment chamber. Its exoskeleton was dull without power, and two of its arms hung limply at its sides. But it was alive, its three eyes watching the humans warily. Dr. Park approached the chamber. "Can you understand me?" she asked. The Raxian clicked its mouthparts. Without its translator device, it could not speak in a way humans could understand. "Bring the translator," Dr. Park ordered. One of her assistants handed her a captured Raxian translator device. She held it near the chamber. "Now can you understand me?" she asked again. "Yes," the Raxian replied, its voice coming through the translator with a mechanical tone. "I am Scout Leader Krall of the Raxian Empire." "I am Dr. Park of Earth," she replied. "You and your people killed my son." The Raxian tilted its head. "Many humans will die if you continue to resist." "Why did you come to our planet?" Dr. Park asked, ignoring the threat. "To claim it for the Empire, as we have claimed 12 worlds before yours," Krall answered. "And the people of those worlds. What happened to them?" "Those who submitted served the Empire. Those who resisted were eliminated." Dr. Park leaned closer to the chamber. "Earth will not submit, and we will not be eliminated." As she turned to leave, the Raxian spoke again. "Your weapons are clever, but the Empire is vast. Captain Dahl has already called for reinforcements. Soon, thousands more ships will arrive. You cannot win." Dr. Park stopped at the door. "We will see about that." Outside, she told Sun what the Raxian had said. "We need to end this before reinforcements arrive," she said. "We need to target their command ship." "The main fleet is in orbit," Sun reminded her. "Our jets cannot reach them there." "Then we need to make them come to us," Yuna said, a plan already forming in her mind. Back in her laboratory, Dr. Park called an emergency meeting with military leaders and scientists from around the world. They connected through secure video links. "The Raxians have called for reinforcements," she told them. "We have weeks, maybe less, before more ships arrive. We need to defeat the current fleet before then." "How?" asked the American general. "Our weapons are effective, but their main fleet stays in orbit out of our reach. We need to make them come down to Earth," Dr. Park explained. And I have a plan to do just that. As she outlined her strategy, faces on the screens nodded in agreement. It was dangerous, but it might work. And they had no choice. Earth's survival depended on defeating the Raxians now, before their reinforcements arrived. The plan was set. Operation Jin-Ho would begin the next day. Operation Jin-Ho began at midnight. All across the world, radio stations and television channels broadcast the same message on repeat. To the Raxian Empire, we surrender. We will meet your representatives to discuss terms. In orbit, Captain Dahl received the message with satisfaction. Finally, they understand their place, he told his officers. Prepare landing parties for all major cities. We will accept their surrender in person. The Raxian commanders were pleased but cautious. It could be a trap, warned Commander Vass, who had killed Jin-Ho that first day. Humans have proven more resourceful than expected. Even so, they cannot defeat our technology, Captain Dahl replied. Send scout ships first. If there is no resistance, we will land the main force. On Earth, military forces appeared to be withdrawing from cities. Weapons were being put away. White flags flew from government buildings. Everything suggested that humans had given up the fight. In a secret underground base near Seoul, Dr. Park met with military leaders for final preparations. The Raxians must believe our surrender is real, she told them. They must bring their main ships into the atmosphere. All pulse generators are in position, reported a general. Hidden but ready to activate. And the special weapon? Dr. Park asked. Ready, confirmed an engineer. We only get one chance with this. It has to work the first time. The special weapon was Dr. Park's latest creation. Based on what they had learned from the captured Raxian, she had designed a massive pulse generator that could target the neural command center of the Raxian fleet. If it worked, it would disrupt the entire Raxian command structure at once. Sun Park entered the room, wearing his flight suit. He had just returned from a mission, hiding fighter jets in remote locations around the country. All squadrons are in position, he reported, ready to launch on your signal. Yuna went to him, taking his hands in hers. Be careful today, she said. I need you to come back. I will, Sun promised. For you, and for Jin-Ho. They shared a brief moment together, drawing strength from each other, before returning to their duties. Yuna to her control station, Sun to his hidden fighter jet. The first Raxian scout ships entered Earth's atmosphere at dawn. They found no resistance. Human military bases appeared abandoned. Cities were quiet. Everything suggested that Earth had indeed surrendered. No signs of active weapons, reported a Raxian scout. Human military forces have withdrawn as promised. Captain Dahl made his decision. Begin landing operations. I will lead the main delegation to accept their surrender. The massive Raxian command ship, along with 50 battle cruisers, descended toward Earth. They moved slowly, confidently, like predators approaching defeated prey. In the secret base, Dr. Park watched their approach on radar screens. Wait until the command ship is in the lower atmosphere, she instructed. We need it well inside the range of all pulse generators. Minutes passed. The Raxian ships continued their descent. On the radar, they appeared as bright dots moving steadily toward Earth's surface. The command ship has entered optimal range, announced a technician. Dr. Park took a deep breath. She thought of Jin-Ho, his bright smile, his curiosity about the stars. She thought of how the Raxians had taken him from her without a moment's hesitation or remorse. Activate all pulse generators, she ordered. Full power. Around the world, hidden pulse generators powered up. They had been concealed in buildings, underground facilities, and remote locations. Now, all at once, they directed their energy upward, toward the Raxian fleet. In his fighter jet, Sun Park waited for the signal. When it came, he and hundreds of other pilots started their engines and took off from hidden runways. They formed a global net, ready to intercept any Raxian ships that tried to escape. Aboard the Raxian command ship, Captain Dahl was preparing his victory speech when the first pulses hit. The ship shuddered. Warning alarms blared. What is happening? He demanded. His science officer checked the systems. Neural interface disruption. It is the human pulse weapons, but much stronger than before. Impossible, Captain Dahl said. They surrendered. It was a trap, Commander Vass realized too late. They lured us into the atmosphere. The Raxian ships began to lose control. The neural interfaces that connected pilots to their vessels were failing. Some ships managed to fire weapons randomly, but they could not aim properly. Others began to drift, their engines still running, but without guidance. In the secret base, Dr. Park activated the special weapon. The massive pulse generator sent a concentrated beam of energy directly at the Raxian command ship. The beam targeted the ship's neural command center, where Captain Dahl and his officers were connected to the fleet's control systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. The entire Raxian command structure collapsed at once. Captain Dahl screamed as his neural connection overloaded, sending painful feedback into his brain. Around him, other Raxian officers experienced the same agony. Without central command, the Raxian fleet fell into chaos. Ships collided with each other. Some fired on their own allies by mistake. Others simply shut down, floating helplessly in the air. All fighter squadrons, engage, ordered the human general. Target disabled ships first. Do not let any escape to orbit. Sun Park led his squadron toward a group of drifting Raxian cruisers. The aliens were trying to restart their systems, but the pulse weapons had done their job well. The cruisers were vulnerable. For Earth, Sun said as he fired his weapons. For Jinho. The battle was short but intense. Human fighters destroyed or disabled most of the Raxian fleet. A few ships managed to escape back to orbit, but they were too damaged and too few to pose a serious threat. In the command ship, Captain Dahl struggled to stand. The neural feedback had severely damaged his exoskeleton. Around him, his officers were in similar condition or worse. Emergency launch, he ordered, his voice weak. We must return to orbit. But it was too late. The command ship's engines were failing. It began to descend rapidly toward the ground. Send a warning to the Empire, Captain Dahl told his communications officer. Warn them about Earth. These humans are more dangerous than we thought. The message was sent, but it would take weeks to reach the nearest Raxian outpost. By then, it would be too late for Captain Dahl and his fleet. The Raxian command ship crashed in an uninhabited area. Human military forces surrounded the crash site immediately. Among them was Dr. Park, who insisted on being present. The few surviving Raxians were captured. Commander Vass was among them. His exoskeleton was badly damaged, but he was alive. Soldiers brought him before Dr. Park. You, Commander Vass said, recognizing her. You are the mother of the small one. Jinho, Dr. Park said. His name was Jinho. He was 8 years old. Names are irrelevant, Commander Vass replied. He broke protocol. I enforced the rules. Dr. Park looked at the alien who had killed her son. She had dreamed of this moment, of facing him again. She had imagined all the things she would say, all the pain she would inflict. But now, seeing him defeated and helpless, she felt something unexpected. Not forgiveness, never that, but a sense that justice had been served. Earth had won. Humanity had proven stronger than the Raxian Empire had ever imagined. Take him away, she told the soldiers. He will help us understand Raxian technology better. 1 week after the battle, Earth leaders gathered to discuss the future. The Raxian threat was not over. More ships would come eventually, but now Earth had Raxian technology to study and time to prepare. We should establish a global defense system, suggested one leader, using the pulse technology Dr. Park developed. And a space fleet, added another. We need to be ready when they return. In Seoul, a memorial was built where Jinho had died. It was simple, a statue of a small boy looking up at the stars with wonder. At its base was a plaque that read, Jinho Park. His death united humanity. His memory protects Earth. Dr. Park and son visited the memorial often. They brought flowers and talked to their son, telling him about the changes happening in the world because of him. The Raxians thought strength meant cruelty, Yuna said one day as they sat beside the statue. They thought killing a child would teach us to fear them. Instead, it taught us to stand together, Sun added. It showed us what we are capable of when we unite. A year after Jinho's death, Earth launched its first space defense ships. They were built using a combination of human and Raxian technology. Dr. Park had led the engineering team. On the day of the launch, she stood with Sun, watching the ships rise into the sky. Do you think they will come back? Sun asked. Yes, Yuna replied. But next time we will be ready. The ships climbed higher, breaking through clouds, reaching for the stars. They carried the hopes of a planet and the memory of a small boy who had unknowingly changed the course of human history. In the vast darkness of space, a message traveled toward the Raxian Empire. Captain Dahl's final warning about Earth. By the time it arrived, Earth would be different, stronger, united. All because a galactic soldier stepped on a human boy in front of everyone, not understanding that while it took only 2 seconds to crush his skull, it had awakened a force that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The end.